All right, guys. How is everybody? There's a slight tape delay here, so I guess just in case there's no crazy things going on. But thank you guys for showing up. We're going to be getting started here in just a few minutes. I'm going to wait about 3 minutes. I do like to start on time. I'm not sure that this is going to take the whole hour, but that's the time that I kind of put on there. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in and checking out. Not much, Danielle. What's going on with you? Thanks for popping on. I'm going to show you guys a little beach action here, how to do that. So we'll see how it goes. I have a lot of people who ask me for this painting, so I thought it was kind of a cool idea to kind of show people how to do it. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly just because, well, quite frankly, I've done it a lot. So it's not really going to take me a whole lot of time to do this, but it's one of the most requested pictures that I do. It's also one of the things that makes me a lot of money. So I really want to show you guys how to do this in case you're wondering how to kind of do the same art style that I've been getting into. It's very, very easy. I got my dog here. You can hear her shaking in the background, Maggie Moo. She's ready to rock. So we're going to be checking that out. All right. All right, so if you want to put a picture to the voice, it's me. Thank you guys for hanging out, checking it out. We're going to go through this in exactly 1 minute. Not sure how many people are going to come on, but as long as there's people on here, I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So we'll see what happens. I probably will post this to my, what do you call it? My YouTube as well. I'll download it and put it up to my YouTube if you guys ever want to take this on yourself and give it a shot and try to get into this. There's so many really, really easy pictures that you can do that just look awesome. A lot of my stuff is extremely simple. It's really, really simple to do. It just looks good. It looks good in a rustic house. It looks good at the beach. It looks good in the mountains, whatever you really want to do, wherever you want to start it at. So, all right, it's about 9 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras and get my workspace open and ready to go. And get my camera ready. Back that out as much as I can. All right, looks like my sister signed on. That's awesome. We'll be seeing Beck pretty soon. Gonna weasel down to Oak Island for a little while and try to enjoy myself. So that's fun. At least I hope it's fun. What's going on, Beck? Hopefully the weather's good down there. I don't want to go down there and get rained out, but I was taking a look at it the other day. It looked like it was going to be pretty warm, so very warm actually. High 80s, low 90s. Good beach day. All right, let's check it out here. Only got 3 people on. Hopefully there'll be some more people sliding in here pretty soon. But I'm going to show you guys the easiest way to make this beach picture. And honestly, all you need is really what I'm showing you right now. You need a piece of wood. Honestly, it can be any size. It doesn't have to be this size. It doesn't even have to be this type of wood. I've made this picture 2 feet long. I've made this picture 8 feet long. I had somebody ask me, they brought me a huge spalted maple slab, which was 8 feet long and about 1.5 feet wide. And they wanted to make this picture for their wife's office. And I cracked this out for them, and it looked pretty solid. So let's go ahead and check it out. So even if there aren't many people on tonight, I want to make this video anyway for my YouTube. So let's go ahead and check it out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a T-square, line it up on my piece of wood here, and I'm going to, this is about 12 inches high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark at 8 inches. And we're going to put that mark on both sides of the painting. And the reason why I'm putting it on both sides of the painting is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the horizon line. And the horizon line is obviously where the water is going to touch the ocean. Or excuse me, where the ocean is going to touch the sky. So in order to do that, you need some painter's tape. Just regular old painter's tape. You could use masking tape. Doesn't really matter. No big deal. But you want to make sure that your horizon line is pretty straight. So once your horizon line is straight, you can really choose. Do you want more water in your picture? Do you want more sky in your picture? Those are some things that you can really think about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up 8 inches on both sides. So I'm going to take my painter's tape and I'm going to put my painter's tape and line it up on those little dashes that I made. Make sure you push that painter's tape down pretty well. And that's the first step. All right, so get that painter's tape, put it down, and then we're going to actually get right into the staining. Now, I have a couple cloths here. These are just regular cleaning cloths. There's nothing special about them. What's cool about a lot of my paintings is I don't use any brushes. These little rags are really all I need. And in fact, if I wanted to cut this in half again, I probably could. And just to save on materials, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, depending on how messy the project is going to be, sometimes I'll wear gloves, sometimes I don't. I'm not going to wear gloves this time, just because I don't really like the way it looks on camera, and sometimes gloves can pick up multiple colors and get a little bit messy. So here's what we're going to do. Now, over here are the 3 colors of wood stain that you really need to pull off this picture. They're absolutely gorgeous, and one of the reasons why I love working with wood is just because the wood grain really, really pops. I just think it looks really cool. It's always got that rustic, down-home feeling, and I dig it. So, excuse me, what we're going to do is we're going to need 3 colors. We're going to need light blue. This is called Vintage Aqua from Varathane. Very good stain. I also have navy, and then I have a white. Now, the cool thing is that if you look up here on my shelf here, you'll see all of these different colors. I literally have every color of the rainbow up here to use. So it's very, very helpful. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take my cloth, and we're going to start working on the sky. Now, here's the thing. As we work on the sky, I'm not just going to paint a solid blue bar up here. I'm not saying that you can't, but as I've done this picture a bunch of times, I want to show you why I don't do that anymore. One of the reasons why I don't do that is because I want to put clouds up here, cumulus clouds, the big puffy clouds all the way through here. And if I put the whole thing in blue, then it's going to make it really hard to stain over the blue. So I want to put the white directly on the wood. So here's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead, dip my little rag in some blue, and I'm going to start rubbing my blue into my wood here. I'm actually going to mix this up because I mixed it a little while ago, but I think it already started to settle on me. That should be coming out a little bit more blue. There we go. There's that nice blue. All right, so now notice I'm not coming all the way down to the side of the tape. I'm not doing that. And the reason why I'm not doing that again is because that's where my white is going to go, and I don't want to make it harder for me to put my clouds in there. Now, like any wood stain, you want to leave it on your wood for a few minutes. And the rule is, the longer you leave your wood stain, the color on the wood, the more richer color it is, the darker it's going to be. And this looks like a pretty solid cloud line right here. And it may not look like it, but once we start putting the white in there, it'll really start to show. And that's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, now we're going to actually do something similar with the water. Now we're actually going to move, well, I like to anyway. I like to move the tape. I've done it before where I haven't moved the tape, but this time I'm going to move the tape. I'm going to go ahead and put in my dark blue here, which is going to be the ocean. And then once I get up to this line, I'm going to do the clouds. And when I'm done doing the clouds, I'm actually going to move the tape again. But I'm going to show you that when we get there. Okay? So I'm going to take my other rag. I'm going to go ahead and stir that up just in case that stain's settled as well. Really important to mix your stain, guys. Just like paint, stain separates very quickly. And you have the different chemicals separate. You have the hardening agent sometimes rise to the top or rise to the bottom. And that really does affect your color. So if you want the best color out of your stain, you got to stir them. Now usually it's a big mistake to shake your stain. I don't believe that. I shake my stain because I don't use my stain for furniture or anything like that. I use it for artwork. All right, so get some nice navy blue here. And go ahead and pull that. Now, just like we did with the clouds, I'm also going to do that as I get further down the painting. I'm going to save some areas to make waves. So let's say I want to make a wave right down here. I want to leave a little bump right here because that's going to be my wave. And again, we don't want to have to put white stain over a dark stain. So here's another wave. And then we'll finish that out just like that. Don't worry about dumping stain. The good thing is when you work with wet stain, you can do a lot with it. So don't worry about really making two mistakes. You can get your way out of it. Hey Xavier, how's it going, man? Thanks for popping on. I missed you this year, buddy. So here is basically what we're going to be looking at for ocean. Now, in order to get this scene right, you have to really know what the ocean looks like. You have to really study it. As I tell my students in class, art and doing art is really a study of nature. Like you have to understand what it really looks like in order to pull it off in your art. So, just to put some more depth, we're just going to add a little bit of blue toward the front, just to make it look a little bit more interesting and not monochromatic as far as the water goes, because that's not how the water looks anyway by the ocean. All right, so already we started creating a little bit more color variant right there, and that looks pretty awesome. All right, moving right along. Moving right along. I'm going to go ahead and take my other little patch here, and we're going to get ready for some white. And actually, you know, what I've been doing is I've been actually doing this picture with art sponges. So this is just a little art sponge that I've cut up and that I started using. And I'm going to show you why I started using the art sponge. I just like the way it looks better than the rag. And I'm going to zoom in to this area so that you guys can see the motion that I'm using when I make my clouds. So I'm going to grab a little white here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my sponge right on the board and I'm going to twist it. And the reason why I like doing this is because clouds have a lot of motion in them. They have a lot of kind of circular patterns, and I want to kind of recreate that. So that's kind of what we're doing. Now notice how nice and white this looks. This looks really white because I'm not painting over the baby blue that I put at the top, or the aqua blue, the vintage aqua. I'm going right onto the original wood. So the white is really going to pop. I found that when I was doing this picture and I was not leaving it blank, I wasn't leaving bare wood behind, I had to put so many layers of white on it, and it was just taking a long time to make this picture. But like anything else, you live and learn. But you can tell that the clouds are shaping up pretty good. Now, as the clouds start to take shape here, I know I said I only use 3 colors on this, but honestly, I often bring in a gray. And I put a little bit more gray value on the clouds, because obviously clouds have a lot more going on than just pure white straight across. I mean, it's not usually just a white straight line. All right. So here's our cloud wall, shaping up pretty well. Cool thing with the sponge is you can make an experiment with how your clouds look, how fluffy they look. You can make anvil clouds, like the storms are coming in, and again, bringing in those gray values is a good idea as well. But already we have pretty good clouds set up already. So there are our clouds. Pretty simple. Now, our waves are going to be very similar. And I want to give our clouds a little time to dry here, because I'm going to be taking that tape off and there's not going to be anything under that tape. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to bring the blue value up to meet the clouds, and that's when I said we're going to reuse the tape, because I'm actually going to put the tape over kind of the wet white stain, but it's only there for a few minutes. It's not going to hurt the stain, and it really is just to try to keep the blue, the dark blue, out of the white. So it's pretty simple. Now, for the waves, we're going to do something very similar to the clouds. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put that frothy line here. Okay. Then, when we get to our wave, you want to make the wave look like it's crashing. So, here's where the sponge really comes in handy. Look at how cool that looks. Okay. So we have the kind of the water line coming up. And I like to put some extra touches on here. So I have a paint pen that I like to use, and I'll get to that in a minute. But let's go ahead and let's do our other wave. Now you'll notice that this is just kind of a flat piece of plywood. So I'm going to have to frame this, and there are a lot of options in framing. Now, one of the things that I want to do as well, since this wave is actually pretty big, we're going to be able to see the wave underneath. Or excuse me, we're going to be able to see the ocean, rather, underneath the wave. So I want to put a little bit of blue value here, a little bit of blue color, because we're actually seeing the underside of the wave before it crashes. And then I want to show you kind of the crashing technique here. So I got a little blue right there. I didn't have that on camera. I have a little blue right here. Not a big deal. We can get rid of that. And then I'm going to dip a little bit of blue here. And this wave is really going to kind of be one of the centerpieces of the whole painting. All right, so again, that's the underside of the wave. The sun is shining through the wave. It's nice and bright. Love that really cool effect. And people can tell that when you do that stuff, you've really done your homework, because that's what the wave looks like. So what we want to do is we actually want to go back to our sponge, and we want to have that water, just like it is on the real beach, we want to have it cascading down. Now notice I didn't wait for the blue to dry, because honestly, it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm not sure what this is, but that's cramping my style. And that is just a real kind of slow pull down. And then if we need to, we can go back up, add some more white to it, wipe it down, and then that really does look as if that wave is really pounding the beach. Pretty cool, huh? Now let's go back to this beach, and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to take the top, and I'm just going to give it kind of that where the water is falling off the top of the wave type look. Now with stain, you can do layers. The more, obviously, the more stain you put on it, the whiter, the darker, whatever color you're using is going to be. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this is already shaping up to be a pretty good beach picture. All right. So we have our clouds, we have our ocean. Let's go ahead and put just a little bit more white in our clouds here. And really what you can do is here is where you can really start to make the clouds look different. So here there's a cloud in front of a cloud, which is how it really is supposed to look. So again, you don't want your whole cloud wall to be the same color, because that usually does not happen. That doesn't look natural. Again, don't be afraid to use a regular rag for this. You'll notice that I haven't even touched a brush yet. In fact, a lot of times the only time I use a brush at all is if I'm doing the bird silhouettes or I'm putting a clear coat on it. That's literally the only time that I use a brush on this. Everybody's got an old t-shirt laying around. Nothing wrong with using it for that. There, that gives the clouds just a little bit more variant to it. Hope you guys are digging that. I'm digging it. It's pretty neat. So I usually keep a piece of sandpaper handy, because sandpaper is very good at getting rid of mistakes. And right down here is where I put a little bit of that extra blue down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And now it's gone. That's all you had to do. So if I was going to knock this out for money and I really wanted to turn up the kind of realistic factor of it, I would, right where the water meets the sand, I would make that a little bit darker. And because wet sand is obviously darker. So what I did is I have a stain marker. I also have a million cans of stain, but right now I have a stain marker with me. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on this rag. And the reason why I'm putting it on the rag is because I want to be in control of how much of this actually gets on the wood. I don't want to use the stain marker because it comes out too fast. So all I'm doing is putting a little bit on this rag. Let's see where the camera is. And I'm just kind of going like that. making it look a little bit dark. Because the water has hit the sand right here and it's supposed to look a little dark. And the more realistic your artwork looks, the better off you are. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. All right, so what are we going to do with this tape? Well, what I'm going to do is, even though I just put another layer of white clouds up there, I'm going to take off the tape. And you'll see a huge line with obviously completely empty. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tape, and I may have to put it on my workbench itself, because since the stain is still wet, it's probably not going to stay. I'm just going to tap a little bit and hope that it stays in place. If it moves, that's okay. It's not a big deal. And then I'm just going to come back, pull my paint down, and where there used to be a big dividing line, and this is one of the cool things about working with wet stain, is that the stain blends perfectly. So there's no way that you can tell where that line was. There's no way. And now it looks perfect. Just like that. And as I pull up my tape, you'll see that there might be a little bit of space. I'll see if I can zoom in on this. A little bit of space between the clouds and the water. And you just need to go back and real gently kind of blend that in. And if you get any dark blue in the white, it really doesn't matter as long as you don't have a ton of it, because you can come back later. Well, I wouldn't come back too later, but come back and blend that in. So there you have the water meeting the sky. Perfect. Just like that. Just like that. So I wanted to show you guys these little markers here, because these things are really good. Now, you're more than welcome to paint this with a regular paintbrush, but I use these brushes. They're called Posca. They're super good. They're made in Japan, every color of the rainbow. This is a very fine tip, like super, super fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little kind of swirly action going on here. Kind of right by, I'm just kind of doing like maybe a little figure 8 type motion here to show that the water's been kind of churning over. Makes it look a little bit more interesting. Now we're going to put in some seagulls. Some seagulls that are flying, so I'm going to try to zoom in on this as well. And I'm going to try to put a seagull right where we're going in. So I don't put a lot of details in my birds because that's not what kind of painting this is. This is a rustic decor painting that is very, very simple. So I want my birds to be simple as well. So I'm going to come out with a wing, draw a circle in the middle, and come out with another wing. And put my glasses on here so I can get some better detail in here. I usually put my birds in groups of 3. You are welcome to put your birds in whatever groups you wish. And just like that, I'll zoom out. And now you have your birds. This is a good way to fill up kind of that large negative space that you have in there to kind of break it up. I'll even put some up here in the corner. And obviously you want to put some in slightly different motions of flight. Make your birds a little bit different. One of the best ways to learn how to do birds, go ahead and Google like bird silhouette in flight. That's a really, really cool way to figure out how to get those birds down. That's what I did, and it really, really helped me. So I got a little bit more negative space over here, and now I'm just going to put a couple birds over here as well. All right, we're going to zoom out. Now, the unfortunate thing is that wood stain does usually not come out well when you're doing artwork on the camera. So the colors that I see are not necessarily the colors that you're seeing right now, and that's kind of unfortunate. Now, obviously, this looks like a pretty calm ocean. And we should probably add some more waves back there. So what I'll do is I'll take my sponge here and just going to make some other waves kind of out in the distance a little bit. If we're going for realism here. And as I'm doing these, and if you don't like them, they're very easy to get rid of. This is another thing that I often use my paint pen for, actually, is sometimes when you get to the back and you want to do smaller waves. And working with the stain when it's wet, it really pays off, because you can, if let's say I want to get rid of this wave right here, if I just push hard enough on my dark blue rag, I can totally get rid of it. Because I didn't really like that one to begin with. So I'll make a little one back here. Maybe I can even sell this picture tomorrow for a little extra beach money or whatever. All right. Looks like I got a little bit of blue here on my wave from that rag. We'll blot that out. Wood stain is very cool to work with because it's very forgiving. When you want to get rid of it, you can sand it. You can often put more stuff over it. All right, so we're getting pretty close in here. I might add a little bit more detail to the back of it. So I might just put in a couple kind of white lines in the back. Maybe the waves aren't crashing, but they're just kind of cascading over each other. So just make a couple lines in the back. Keep that eye constantly looking for detail. That's really the name of the game, for me anyway, is that when I make a picture, I want people to continually have to look all over the picture for what's next. Like, what are they missing? What else do they need to see? I think that's a really cool part about art. When I'm reading pictures and books with my kids, I'm always looking at the artist's style and seeing if there's, if there's something that I'm missing. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first started art, I was really scared of painting. I'm not scared of painting anymore as much as I used to be, but it's still pretty intimidating. And one of the reasons why is because there's a lot of people out there who really know what they're doing when it comes to painting. And I am an immigrant to painting. I'm very new to it. I'm not an expert or anything like that. All right, so get rid of that little white spot right there. All right, turning out pretty good. Turning out pretty solid. All right, so I have a couple options. I can sit here and I can wait for this to dry. That is an option. I am not taking that option. What we are going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to finish this picture with a little bit of wood burning. Wood burning is one of those things that I kind of just got into in high school, and I started doing a little bit in college, and then I abandoned it for about 20 years, and then I just started getting back into it, and it adds a different level of creativity to your painting, and not many people do it. And to be honest with you, I've made a ton of money off of it for that main reason. A lot of people just don't do it. If you can draw, you can wood burn. You just have to learn the pressure of your wood burner, and the quality of wood burner that you have is also important as well. Let's go ahead and focus down here on this corner, and I'm going to turn my wood burner on here. And I have several wood burners simply because I can, to be honest with you. I have a lot because I use them a lot. These are high-end professional wood burners. Like, some of these are several $100s. Usually when people sell them used, I try to snatch them up because like anything else, they wear out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let's see here, I think I'll take this one. Now, wood burners have a lot of different tips. This tip right here is the one that I probably use the most. It's got just a little curved bend to it. Now, I don't know if you can see this thing turning red or not, but this already is extremely hot. You do not have to touch this to your skin for more than a millisecond, and it is going to burn you. These things are no joke. So when I tell my kids that I do wood burning and stuff like that, there's always an asterisk on there. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm going to do. Now, one of the best things that advice I can give you is to, again, check out Google search images and put ocean plants or excuse me, beach plants or sea oats. Search clip art, or what I usually do is silhouette, because really when you're doing something like this, you're doing a silhouette of it. So I'm going to make some plants here. Now, if it's a windy day, they're going to be bent in a certain direction. And what I usually do with my beach pictures is I frame the picture with these plants. Now, I'm going to switch to a different wood burner in just a second so that you guys can see this. So, here's where the different tips come into play. This is called a chisel. And this makes a very sharp line. This one makes a lot thicker of a line. Notice they're both glowing red hot. That's how you want your wood burners to be, guys, on most of your projects. Now, I can control the heat on these, which is good. If I want something really dark, I crank up the heat. If I want something light, I turn the rheostat down and make it a little bit cooler. So I have the stalks of the plants here, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to start at the plant, and I'm just going to move it out, and it's going to make it look like those wispy plants. I don't even know what they're called. I don't know if they're called sea oats. I think sea oats are the short grasses on the dunes, and they're not cattails. Not exactly sure what they're called. But you know you've seen them at the beach. I'm not pressing hard on the wood. I'm basically tapping it. Tap and drag. Just flicking it out like that. Now you can put a lot of different decorations on your beach. You could put beach chairs if you want, which I've never done, but you could. You could put fences, you know, like those picket fences, the wooden picket fences that help hold the sand back. I usually like to keep my scenes as natural looking as they can. So I don't even want it to look like a human has even been here. I guess growing up in the mountains, that's kind of the way it is. And then we just put lines down at the bottom. All sorts of grass each and every way. Here, I guess, would be your sea oats. Now, with wood burning, the longer you keep the wood burning pen to the wood, the darker you're going to be. I don't want dark right now. I want kind of wispy grass. And this is kind of the maybe not fun part of wood burning, is that it really does take patience when you're trying to get this detail. But so does drawing and so does painting. So, you know, it's like anything else. And just put a couple other more details. All right, I can come back later. I want to show you guys just a couple other details that you guys can put on here if you're interested. Maybe right here, I'll just put like a little bundle of sea oats. There's no real formula to what you need to put down here. Now, there's a lot of other plants and stuff you can put down here. These are just kind of the easiest ones for you to draw, and they're the ones I suggest you start out with. I mean, maybe you could even put like a lifeguard chair or something like that. I just, like I said, I don't like putting anything man-made in my pictures. I want them to be devoid of any people. That's what I think a perfect trip to the beach would be. Not that you're always going to get that, obviously, but growing up in the mountains was a good way to escape everything. Because 9 times out of 10, no matter where you went hiking, you usually didn't find too many people. All right, and then finally, lastly, we're going to finish our other. Again, I want to call them cattails. I know that's not the right name. I don't want to call it something that it's not, but And I don't know, again, I don't know if these are sea oats or not. I probably should know that since this is kind of what I do, but I don't know. All right, guys, this is basically the end of the tutorial. I mean, this really took us, I don't know, 45 minutes? 45 minutes to come up with this. Depending on the size and depending on the complexity of this pitcher, I've sold these for $250. I've sold them for $40. It all depends on the size, what material you have it on. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Thanks for coming to check out our little beach pitcher here. It turned out really nice, I think. Not bad for 45 minutes. Now, to be totally honest with you, this is probably the 30th time that I've done this pitcher. So I've been doing this pitcher for a while here. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can take a look here. I know I got my friend Ron Belville just signed on. So I want to show him kind of the whole pitcher we did in 45 minutes. Now again, this was all using wood stain. 3 different colors of wood stain. 4 if you count the little embellishment I put down here below the waves. A lot of people from the beach, they ask me for this picture. There's nothing more rewarding for an artist when they say, we're looking for a centerpiece in our house, our new beach house, and they're like, we want to put this over our fireplace. We want it to be, the first thing that you see when you walk in. That's a huge compliment, for me anyway. Maybe there's some people who could care less. They just want to move art, but I get very, very happy when people ask me to do jobs for them. I think it's very humbling that people want to welcome you into their home in that way. It's very cool. And like everything else, art goes in and out of style, but art's like people, art's supposed to elicit some type of response from the people who are looking at it. So there's our beach picture, guys. 45 minutes. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys check out Adirondack Art Company and see if there's anything you like on there. Leave me some comments. Let me know if there's something that you'd like to see made that you haven't seen made yet. And keep on trucking. Always keep me in your thoughts for gifts or last-minute ideas for some people. I'd love to help you out. All right, guys. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.